Your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit, is back under the hood to break down a geopolitical gear grinder. Canada and the US, once joined at the axle, are now locked in a full-throttle trade standoff. And trust us, it's no longer just about steel and aluminum. This tariff tug-of-war is hammering the heart of North America's auto and energy sectors. From EVs to electricity, no spark plug is safe. So strap in, because this ride is about to get bumpy. Number 5. When trade partners turn into trade rivals. For decades, the US and Canada maintained one of the most synchronized trade relationships in the world, moving over $700 billion in goods annually, bonded by geography and shared industry, especially in autos and energy. But that long-standing alliance hit a wall in 2025. Invoking national security, the Trump administration rolled out steep tariffs, 25% on Canadian steel and aluminum, and 10% on key energy exports like potash. While framed as a crackdown on illicit border flows, many experts saw it as political posturing thinly disguised as economic defense. Canada's comeback was swift. Then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau hit back with 25% tariffs on 30 billion Canadian dollars worth of US exports. But it was newly sworn-in Prime Minister Mark Carney who truly cranked the tension. Within his first week in office, Carney announced an expanded tariff package targeting $86.7 billion in American goods, everything from machinery to automotive components. The tariffs officially kicked in on March 23rd, sending shockwaves across supply chains. Carney didn't mince words. Canada won't be bullied at the border or in the boardroom. With autos, energy, and agriculture all in the blast zone, this economic face-off could leave lasting dents in North America's finely tuned trade machine. But the real tremors hit where it hurts the most: North America's auto assembly lines. Number 4. American automakers in the pit. Tesla, Ford, and GM brace for impact. Next up on the hit list, the auto industry. And oh boy, this one's going to leave a dent. Canada's retaliatory move includes a 25% tariff on both EVs and traditional gas-powered vehicles imported from the US that throws a wrench into operations for giants like Tesla, Ford, and GM, whose production depends on a seamless cross-border parts pipeline. Take the Chevy Silverado or GMC Sierra, for example, built with components zipping across borders multiple times. With new tariffs, those logistics suddenly become a high-cost juggling act. Tesla is in an especially tight corner. Already fighting margin compression in a chaotic EV market, these tariffs could deliver a gut punch to its Canadian sales. Insider buzz even suggests Canada might single out Tesla for additional tariffs due to its US-based battery chain dependencies. Ford and GM aren't cruising either. About 5.3 million light vehicles roll out of Canadian and Mexican plants annually, destined for American driveways. With tariff-induced costs rising, automakers are stuck between a rock and a rusting chassis. Either jack up sticker prices in Canada or eat into their own profits. And here's the kicker. These tariffs don't just threaten bottom lines. They could choke EV adoption in Canada. With local EV production lagging and imports getting pricier, affordability becomes the Achilles heel for green mobility. The fallout? Higher prices, fewer options, and a much steeper road ahead for Canada's carbon reduction goals. And while automakers brace for financial shockwaves, the power grid is about to feel some political voltage of its own. Before we delve deeper, do us a favor and smash that like and subscribe button. This helps us reach more auto enthusiasts just like you. Now let's shift gears and steer towards our next point. Number 3. Ontario's power play, when energy becomes a weapon. If the auto sector is spinning out, the energy sector is about to stall. Ontario Premier Doug Ford just threw 91 octane on the fire by adding a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to the US, targeting states that rely on Canadian power. And he didn't stop there. Ford signaled he's ready to pull the plug entirely if tensions escalate. If the US escalates this, I won't hesitate to cut off electricity completely, Ford warned. This trade war wasn't started by the American people. There's only one person to blame: President Trump. This isn't idle revving. This is a direct threat to grid reliability in several border states. Washington already issued formal protests, and energy markets are sputtering. Utilities are scrambling to secure alternative sources, but options are limited, and prices are inching upward. Meanwhile, the Bank of Canada has flashed its own check engine light. A prolonged tariff war, they warn, could shave 3% off national GDP over the next 2 years. Markets already felt the tremor. The S&P TSX Composite slid 1.5% after the news. So, we're looking at a perfect storm. Rising manufacturing costs, grid instability, and an electorate that's growing more restless with every passing month. But Canada isn't just playing defense, it's shifting into gear with a bold recovery blueprint. Number 2, Carney's comeback plan, fueling Canada from within. As the trade tension shifts into overdrive, Canada isn't just playing defense, it's tuning up for long-term economic durability. Prime Minister Mark Carney has unveiled a comprehensive domestic strategy to reinforce Canada's economic backbone. At the heart of the plan is a 450 million Canadian dollars lifeline for small and medium-sized enterprises. That includes tax deferrals, manufacturing subsidies, and incentives for buying Canadian-made goods, turning patriotism into an economic engine. But Carney's vision revs deeper than quick fixes. Infrastructure upgrades, like the expansion of the Port of Churchill and LNG terminals along the West Coast, are being fast-tracked to enhance trade flexibility and reduce reliance on U.S. logistics. Perhaps most telling, Carney's decision to double the nation's domestic loan guarantee program. It's a signal flare to Canadian companies. Shift your supply chains, and we'll back you with real financial horsepower. The plan doesn't stop at home. In a savvy move, Carney's team launched billboard campaigns in battleground U.S. states, showing how tariffs are hitting ordinary Americans where it hurts: gas pumps, grocery aisles, and dealership floors. It wasn't just policy, it was strategic pressure aimed at influencing public sentiment during the recent U.S. election. And while Carney reinforces Canada's foundation, he's also realigning the country's future, one trade pact at a time. Number 1, Canada's global Gearshift, pivoting to the Asia-Pacific lane. While Washington wields tariffs like a hammer, Canada is slipping into a higher gear with a calculated global pivot. Enter the CPTPP, the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership. For Canada, this isn't just a trade deal, it's an escape ramp. Strengthening ties with countries like Japan, Australia, and Vietnam opens new lanes for automotive, energy, and tech exports. And there's more on the horizon. Carney's administration is eyeing bilateral agreements with ASEAN nations, cementing Canada's role as a Pacific trade powerhouse. The message to Ottawa's traditional trading partner is clear. You're no longer the only game in town. This isn't about burning bridges, it's about building new ones. Canada isn't slamming the hood on U.S. trade altogether, but it's making sure the engine doesn't stall if Washington decides to throttle the throttle again. And with other nations growing wary of U.S. tariff tactics, Canada might just become the blueprint for small to mid-sized economies looking to reclaim some road control. With Canada pivoting globally and building leverage at home, the big question remains: how does this all play out on the grand stage? Verdict: tariffs, tensions, and the road ahead. This is no longer just a trade spat. It's a full-blown powertrain showdown. Will Washington's tariff torque force Canada to back down? Or will Ottawa's strategic countermeasures, economic rewiring, infrastructure investment, and global repositioning, shift the balance of power for good? Tesla, GM, and Ford are caught between the gears. Energy prices are climbing. And both nations' voters are starting to ask, is this really the road we want to be driving down? We want to know what you think. Will Canada's pivot to the Asia-Pacific prove to be a masterstroke or a misfire? Can automakers realistically absorb the cost, or will consumers bear the brunt? Do you believe Carney's domestic strategy is enough to shield Canada from long-term fallout? Could this accelerate Canada's own EV manufacturing ambitions? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss the next engine revving update from Piston Pundit. We'll be back with more insights, breakdowns, and bold takes on the evolving world of autos, policy, and powertrains. Thanks for watching, and until next time, Keep your eyes on the road and your passion in the driver's seat. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's more exciting and informative content waiting for you.